Okay, everybody, I'm going to keep on doing videos on this Kayo TD110 EFI. Eventually, I'll get a video of this actually in action going around the yard. I have a little jump in the back, but right now I'm just doing some videos before we get to that point. So anyways, I was comparing this 110 to the regular 110. This is night and day. A better bike than your typical KO 110 that is carbureted. This one being fuel injected, it sits about an inch taller. It's right around I don't know, it's less than 30 inches. It's like 29 and a half, something like that. It's definitely sits higher than the carbureted version. This front suspension, the front forks are actually inverted and definitely have a lot more durability to them for a bigger guy like me that weighs like 250 pounds. So being 5'11", this bike is small, but it's rideable. I think when they built this model, they were considering bigger people riding this, not necessarily kids, and not necessarily like 6'5" people, but adults. One of the reasons why I think that is because the front forks are definitely beefed up. The rear suspension, when you sit on this one versus the standard 110 carbureted, it's a total different feel just sitting on it. So you can tell that just the suspension alone is built for a person that's not a kid, let's put it that way. So, these are typically for like 8 to 12-year-olds. In this situation, you could be 8 years old, you could be 80 years old. It's a great little bike, especially for putting around the yard. There is no clutch lever. It is semi-automatic. The only lever that's on the handlebar is the right handlebar front brake. On the left side there, you have your kill switch and your electric start. You also have a backup kick, which you can see pretty much standard like all the Chinese bikes. It has the similar exhaust that you'll see on most of the Chinese bikes. You got front and rear disc brakes. You got 14-inch tires in the front. You got 12-inch tires in the back. Going back to the exhaust, actually the muffler is all like stainless. It actually says Kayo on it, and it's like their own brand. I really have no complaints with this thing. This is great. There we go. The only issue that I have currently ran into is the shift lever. I have a size like 12 shoe. If I'm wearing boots, like 13. I think I'm going to get a longer shift lever. It's just tough in that position with a bigger foot. So that may be something you might want to consider, is changing the shift lever. Unless you have a really small foot, it's probably okay. But for me, it's kind of it's a little bit too small. Not terribly small, but that is probably the one thing that really does stand out. And just want to point that out. And you can get these for $10. You can get them for $30. I mean, depends on where you're buying them from. So it's not like it's a very expensive upgrade. The foot pegs, they're actually not real small. They're actually pretty good size. I mean, another reason why I could tell they built this for kids and adults. They're not as small as you would think they would be, the foot pegs. The foot brake. Some of the 110 models, the foot brake is super small and it almost sits under the casing. With this one, it sits like a normal dirt bike. You literally don't have to worry about missing it with your foot. It's there. I was looking for things to complain about. You don't even have to even change the handlebars. I was going to buy I think the XR50s, I think they are, the slightly bigger handlebars. The way this runs, the handlebars are actually really, really comfortable where they're at. I did notice one thing when I got it home. So on the handlebars, there are 2 different settings. This is actually in the front setting, and you could bump it back if you need to bring the handlebars a little bit closer to you, for like a kid or something. So it's almost like they were a step ahead with this model, thinking, if a bigger person does buy it, they may want to move them up. And I keep referring to adults and bigger people. So this bike with all the fees is about $2,300. So that's not like an expensive bike. But the regular carbureted 110 with all the fees, you can a lot of times end up saving $1,000. So you might be around $1,300. It could be a little more, a little less, but significantly cheaper to buy the carbureted version versus this one that's fuel injected. And so where does the money, where do they put that extra money into? Fuel injection, better front suspension. I'm almost 100% sure the rear shock is definitely a lot better than the regular carbureted version. So there's another, added feature. Obviously with the fuel injection, there's a little money in there because it's a little bit more complicated than the carburetor version. And then the front, I didn't look at the adjustments on the regular 110, but I never noticed how you can move the handlebars back or forward. So some people will, buy different adapters to raise the handlebars, or they'll just buy bigger handlebars. Kayo, I think, was just one step ahead on this model. Now, to be honest with you, the big selling point for me was I just kind of got tired of dealing with carbureted, dirt bikes and four-wheelers. Still got them, but I wanted something that was fuel injected. So this is actually technically my first fuel injected, if you want to call it a big boy toy. But, even my lawnmower, my zero turn is carbureted. I guess the only thing I really own that's fuel injected would be my truck. So, anyways, I kind of got tired of just cleaning carbs. I'm not good at doing that, so I always have to have a buddy, drop it off, let him work on it, get it back a few days later. And, I really wanted something that I didn't have to worry about that. Now, I've only had this for a day, so I can't say how well this is going to hold up. I can't say if the fuel injection is going to have any issues. That's to see. We'll find out. I'll probably run this around the yard, every day, probably after work or something. And it sounds good. It's not overly loud. I do have like an SSR 160. It's kind of wicked loud. It's not like a two-stroke loud, but it's enough that if it's getting late in the day, I think the neighbors probably get pissed off. Now this 110 is actually pretty mild sounding. Obviously you can rev it and you can probably piss off your neighbors, but it's not like some loud dirt bike. It's fairly quiet for a dirt bike. Unless you live like really in the city, I don't think you're really going to annoy people. I live out in the suburbs. It's, houses aren't really close to each other. But I mean, if I run around for 2 or 3 hours nonstop, I'll probably piss somebody off. But if I go around the yard for a little bit, it's quiet. It's not a bad ride. If you're going to go taking this thing like trailing or something, I don't know if I recommend that. I guess before I get too far off topic, the seat is a little bit firm for, it's a small bike. So you're not going to have like super comfort, especially if you're an adult. Now, if you're a kid, this bike probably won't bother you if you go trailing because, kids weigh 80 pounds. But, I think last time I weighed myself, I was like 247 pounds. So at 247 pounds, yes, I don't know if I would want to take this trailing. It might be a little too small, a little too stiff on the seat. Now, as for the suspension, I went around the yard, many times. The suspension feels good. So it's not a suspension issue. It's a small bike. And you're going to take a beating physically. Like you're going to feel a little bit more if you're going to start like going through like some woods and stuff. But overall, it is really hard to complain. If you want to buy a Honda that's fuel injected, it's more money. Kawasaki, I think you got to get like a 230 model or a 300 to get into the fuel injection. And those are big bikes and they're expensive. You're spending twice the money. Now you do get a lot more. But if you just want to do what I do and just kind of run around the yard and make small little jumps and just have fun, maybe like a couple hours a week, this is an awesome little bike. Very hard to complain, So the only complaints would maybe be the shifter. Replace the foot shifter to fit your foot if you have a bigger foot. A buddy of mine rode this, and I think he has like a size like 10 or 11. He thought the shifter was a little small, and that's, an average size foot. I got, most of my shoes are 12s or 13s. It's definitely a little small trying to, move the shifter with your foot there. But the shifter and then the seat. The seat's a little firm, but it's not bad because the suspension's pretty good for the small bike, So I can't complain too much about it. It's not like this is like a $5,000 bike. So, I just want to do a long, in-depth video more about what I like and don't like and some of the things about this bike. So there isn't a whole lot on the internet yet. This is a brand new model. Maybe they'll come out with a 125 or a 140 fuel injected. If they do, I'll be honest with you, I think that would really kill the Yamaha, Suzuki, and Kawasaki, and Honda. I mean, your Japanese bikes, if Kayo comes out with more fuel injected stuff that's price point better than the Japanese, it's going to be a tough to pass up a fuel injected Kayo. They're made well. Sure, they're not your Japanese high quality build, but if you are doing what most people are doing and just putting around the yard, or once in a while you might hit the woods or something, it is hard to pass up a fuel injected bike that's going to be significantly cheaper. And the only one in this category, the 110, I think is Honda. And to put in perspective, Honda's seat is like way down here. Okay, so yes, adults do ride them, but they are really small compared to this model. And that is like not a good selling point for Honda, I would assume that more people are going to jump on these Kayo 110 fuel injections, especially when the dealers all start stocking them up. Not too many people have had these. I mean, you can find 100 of the regular 110s. You can find 1,000 of the 125s and the 140s. You can probably find a handful of these around the country that are just getting in. And so, I don't know what they're going to do for 2026. They might run these 2025s, for a while. In my opinion, I think they kind of came out a little late in the year. So I would assume that some of these 2025 models will still be available next year. I'm guessing that probably in 2026, and I could be wrong, but I would assume that they may be looking at doing some more fuel injection, maybe with like their 125s and 140s. The 125 four-wheeler, they do have a fuel injected one, but I'm talking dirt bikes. And I just think that this is just going to start, this is the tip of the iceberg for fuel injection for Kayo. I really do think, the Japanese bikes are going to have to start considering the competition with this brand and this style. This is a very small pit bike, but it's bigger than most 110s. It's fuel injection. It has electric start. It has a backup kick. It has inverted forks in the front that are actually beefy compared to other 110s. The rear shock seems to be very, very well built. Nice looking exhaust, good sounding exhaust. It is very, very hard to really complain with everything you get with this bike. It's just, Honda, with all their fees and everything, you might spend, $1,000 more when it's all said and done. To get a smaller bike with potentially a worse setup front fork and potentially a rear shock that's worse. So you're going to spend a lot more for the Honda 110 that's fuel injected, and probably in the long run, just not have really necessarily a better bike. You may have better quality overall parts, but if you are thinking you're going to run a 110 for 20 years, that's, you live in a fantasy world, it's not like the longevity of stuff like this. These are small windows. And so I would assume that if you're like, hey, I can save $1,000 on a 110 and still get fuel injection, no doubt in my mind that this Kayo is going to really, really change the market for a while, especially if they can start putting these in the stores. Like I said, they're not real popular in the stores yet. I'm not sure if they're just behind on deliveries, but there's not a whole lot of shops. I got on motohunt.com. It's not, you may not even find one of these on there. And there's a bunch of other dealers around here that don't have them even listed. And they might have like the regular 110, but EFI fuel injected one, they don't have it. And that's why I'm thinking that they'll probably run this model. Like you find a lot of SSRs that, could be 3 years old, but it's still brand new. And, sometimes I think they skip years. Wouldn't be surprised if they run this model in 2026 and potentially, maybe bring out a fuel injected 125 or 140 dirt bike. And if they don't do that in 2026, I'd be shocked if they don't do it by 2027. This is like, if you're wanting value, that's probably the best word, value for your money. This is what you get. This is the one to go with. If you are looking to like race pit bikes, that might be a little bit different scenario. Some of the other bikes Maybe better for pit racing. But if you're not pit racing, I've had a handful of these small little bikes, and this one being the first fuel injected. To be honest, this is like, it's night and day. So much nicer to be able to just flip the switch, push the button, and instantly it starts. Maybe you wait a second, then you start it once you turn the key on, just to let the fuel pump prime. Maybe you wait a couple seconds just to let the motor warm up. But with carbureted, sometimes you sit there and you're kicking and kicking and kicking, and then you have to wait forever for it to warm up. I mean, literally in like 30 seconds from the time you put the key in the ignition to starting it, you're riding. I mean, literally 30 seconds, you're ready to go, So I don't know. Don't want to drag this video too long. We're already getting 20 minutes in. So if anybody has questions, feel free to ask. I'm going to put some action videos up probably tomorrow with the bike going around the yard, and hopefully the footage works out to be good for everybody so you can kind of see this thing. But it's fun. It's fun. Bottom line is it's fun, it's affordable, and it seems to be like it's going to be reliable. And, what else can you ask for, So anyways, guys and girls and kids and moms and dads and, everyone that's watching, if you're looking for a bike that's around 29 inches that can fit, a kid and an adult and can be fun for the whole family, this one right here is definitely in that mix. There's about 10 other bikes you could buy as well, but this one's fuel injected. And that's probably the biggest selling point, is it's fuel injected. And that's really why I bought it. So anyhow, I'm going to end this video, and I appreciate everyone who's watched. Some of my videos are not necessarily the best quality. I just sometimes throw something up there real quick. I have a different, perspective of in life. I have a landscape business, so I'm usually out working. So if I run a video, I'm usually pretty tired. It's later in the day. I'm not trying to be like a YouTuber and blogger. And I mean, I like to post things. I like to give people, a little bit of what I have going on. But, these aren't like super high-end videos. I'm running it off of a phone. I don't have like a GoPro or anything like that. So, my videos are very limited. But I figured this one was worth posting. So this is maybe like the third or fourth video I've posted of this one. And I'll keep posting more of them because honestly, no one else has them up. And, people, sometimes I'm looking on YouTube for information on things, and it's not always nice when, somebody has something to share. And, I don't really know, all of the points that people may want me to point out, but overall, if you're looking for a Kayo 110, just go with this one. Don't even mess with the carburetor one. Just pay the extra money and get this one. This will be, one-time buy. You'll never have to really deal with all the issues you got to deal with the carburetor, And even though this is, a lot more than the regular one, this is still a cheap bike in perspective of what bikes really cost. For $2,300, like, you really can't complain. If you're going to spend $4,000, and I can understand. You got a lot of options at $4,000, but you do not have a lot of options for fuel injected with a bike that's actually like this, So anyhow, thanks for watching, and we will see you on the next one.